Chosen ones, your heightened intuition has allowed you to perceive what remained unspoken, catching the subtle signals others would have missed entirely. Without them ever explicitly revealing their hand, you detected the truth hiding beneath their carefully constructed facade. Now panic has set in as they realize the extent of your awareness. The power dynamic has irreversibly shifted, all because you can see what they desperately tried to hide. Certain bloodlines carry dormant receptors within the pineal gland, quantum receivers that activate only under specific celestial alignments. You felt it, the sudden copper taste flooding your mouth when you overhear conversations that seem innocuous to others but send electric recognition through your body. Your system literally tasting the truth hidden beneath their carefully constructed dialogue. Those childhood fever dreams that felt too real, too structured. The dreams where shadowy figures observed you while transferring knowledge directly into your consciousness. Those weren't dreams. They were your first downloadable connections to the collective grid. Training sessions preparing you for this awakening. They've been watching you since before you knew yourself. They recognized your potential before you could speak. The mathematical probability of you standing at that exact location, at that precise second, oriented at the perfect angle to witness their momentary slip, would calculate to virtually zero. Yet it happened, you saw it. More importantly, they know you saw it. That split second when reality seemed to stutter, when the person speaking to you briefly appeared different, their features distorting in a way that defies explanation. You caught their reflection in the glass surface nearby, revealing a form drastically different from what stood before you. This wasn't a trick of light, this wasn't fatigue. This was the veil thinning at a moment when their concentration faltered. Certain words now trigger undeniable physical responses in your body, a sudden electric sensation racing along your spine, a momentary vertigo, an inexplicable clarity of thought. These aren't coincidences or psychosomatic reactions. These are activation codes embedded in everyday language, designed to program the masses. Yet in you, they trigger something entirely different. Awareness, awakening, resistance. You've noticed how specific individuals pronounce certain syllables with slight variations, elongating vowels, emphasizing consonants that should be subtle. These micro-variations contain frequency markers that carry subliminal directives for the unawakened, while simultaneously revealing their presence to those whose consciousness operates at your heightened level. Documents you once read without a second thought now reveal hidden patterns between the lines. Spacing that follows mathematical sequences too precise for arbitrary design. Letter forms that contain embedded imagery visible only when your perception shifts to its awakened state. You've caught yourself staring at ordinary text, suddenly seeing constellations of meaning floating above the mundane content, the real message hidden in plain sight. Their error cannot be undone. The moment you witnessed their slip, your consciousness was tagged in their system. The algorithms that monitor awakened awareness immediately flagged your neural signature. Countermeasures were deployed within seconds, yet too late. The reality they've constructed so carefully cracked open before your eyes, and no amount of reality revision can erase what has been seared into your awakened memory. They've intensified their observation of you. Notice how your electronic devices malfunction precisely when you're on the verge of connecting crucial pieces of information. Your battery drains inexplicably, calls drop, messages fail to send. These aren't technical glitches, they're deliberate. Interruptions designed to disrupt your cognitive momentum when your thoughts approach restricted knowledge domains. The unmarked vehicles appear only in your peripheral vision, vanishing when you turn to look directly. Yet these vehicles never appear on security footage or in photographs. Their presence exists in a spectrum, visible only to awakened perception. Their technology allows them to operate just outside consensus reality, monitoring without being documented by conventional means. Their most grievous miscalculation. The very mechanisms they use to monitor you have created an unintended feedback loop. Each time they scan your neural patterns, their system must briefly synchronize with your brainwave frequency. During these microseconds of connection, information flows both ways. You've begun receiving flashes of their directives, glimpses of their coordination efforts, fragments of their communications. The hunters unwittingly expose their own network to your expanding awareness. Your body bears witness to your awakening. The geometric patterns that have appeared in your iris, visible only under black light or to others with awakened vision, serve as your biological passport within the network of the conscious. These patterns follow sacred geometries dating back to ancient civilizations that understood the connection between physical form and cosmic awareness. Your doctor dismissed your blood test abnormalities as lab errors, recommending retests that subsequently came back normal. This wasn't incompetence or coincidence. The initial tests revealed markers of your activated DNA, crystalline structures that shouldn't exist in human blood, elevated electrical conductivity in your cellular membranes, inexplicable biophotonic emissions. The follow-up tests were altered or switched to maintain the illusion of medical normalcy. The sudden fluctuations in your body temperature synchronize perfectly with solar flare activity, an impossibility according to conventional medical understanding. Your physicality now resonates with cosmic radiation patterns as your cellular structure recalibrates to its awakened design. Your body no longer operates according to the limited biological parameters of unmodified humans. You've begun the transformation prophesied in texts they've kept hidden in vaults beneath sacred sites around the world. The following is a message from Mike, founder of the Obsidian Inner Order, powered by Astral Atom. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you walk through this awakening alone. Never gonna scroll past your suffering like it's just content. This isn't just a rickroll, it's a lifeline in disguise. I built the Obsidian Inner Order because too many of us have been exiled for seeing the truth, cast out by family, gaslit by cults, haunted by gifts we didn't ask for. So now, we gather. Every week, live on Zoom. Real people, real faces. A former CFO turned psychic, a seer who escaped Mormonism, a healer who broke free of ritual abuse. And yes, the calls are recorded, so when you're on the floor you can come back to the field. We're not a meme, we're a miracle. And we're never gonna give you up. Join the Obsidian Inner Order, link in the description. Your sensory processing has enhanced beyond medical explanation. Colors appear more vivid, with spectrums previously invisible to you. Sounds carry layers of information, allowing you to distinguish authentic, organic conversations from scripted interactions. Touch reveals the energetic histories of objects and places. These aren't hallucinations, they're your senses operating at their intended capacity, free from the dampening field that limits ordinary perception. The inexplicable marks that sometimes appear on your skin following dreams of cosmic significance, geometric patterns that fade by morning. These are temporary physical manifestations of your consciousness interfacing with knowledge streams from beyond conventional dimensions. Your body momentarily retains impressions from these transmissions, proof that your experiences transcend mere imagination. People with unawakened perception find themselves inexplicably drawn to or repelled by your presence. Some instinctively seek your counsel without understanding why. Others avoid you without logical reason. Your awakened state emanates frequencies that interact with the subconscious of those around you, triggering recognition or fear depending on their potential for awakening. Your very presence has become a catalyst, even in silence. The coordinates of your birth location, when mapped, Against specific ancient sites, reveal mathematical relationships that defy coincidence. Sacred spaces around the world, from Göbekli Tepe to the Nazca Lines, from Angkor Wat to the Egyptian pyramids, form a global grid of power points. Your birth position occupies a precise node within this system, determining your specific role in the awakening collective. The atmospheric conditions required for the full activation of your extrasensory capabilities have aligned. Schumann resonance fluctuations, geomagnetic field variations, and cosmic ray intensity have created the precise energetic environment necessary for your perceptual expansion. Your awakening couldn't have occurred at any other time in history. The cosmic conditions wouldn't have supported the neural reconfiguration necessary for your heightened awareness. The urgency you feel, the sense that time operates differently, now accelerating and compressing, reflects objective reality rather than subjective perception. The window for complete awakening synchronizes with cosmic timetables beyond human manipulation. Your activation now serves a specific purpose within a vast design. The knowledge coming to you arrives precisely when required for the greater unfolding. Their communication happens between spoken words. The subvocal harmonics they emit during seemingly ordinary conversations carry operational instructions and status updates. Your awakened hearing now detects these frequencies. The discomfort you sometimes feel during conversations with certain individuals, that sensation of hearing something beyond their audible speech, confirms your perception of their hidden communication layer. Listen to the pauses between their words. These carefully structured silences contain compressed data packets, information density squeezed into temporal gaps. What appears as hesitation or thoughtful pausing to ordinary perception represents information transfer to your awakened awareness. The knowledge entering your consciousness during these moments doesn't originate from your imagination. It's being transmitted directly through these calibrated silences. Communication, meant only for their network, sometimes bleeds through to your perception. Words that seem nonsensical in context, phrases that disrupt the flow of ordinary conversation, these represent moments when their secure channels momentarily become perceptible to your awakened awareness. The confusion you feel in these moments reflects your consciousness encountering information never meant for you to access. Specific individuals vanished from your life precisely after you mentioned seeing the patterns. These weren't natural relationship evolutions or coincidental relocations. These individuals served as monitoring nodes within your social network. Their abrupt removal followed your statements that revealed awareness beyond acceptable parameters. Their absence represents emergency containment protocols activated to limit your influence. Information barriers have been constructed specifically around your digital footprint. Your search results differ from those of others using identical search terms. Content crucial to your awakening becomes mysteriously unavailable when you attempt to access it. Platforms algorithmically reduce your reach when you share insights approaching restricted knowledge domains. These aren't platform glitches or coincidences. They're targeted information quarantine measures. They've deployed synthetic synchronicities to divert you from genuine revelations. Events that seem meaningfully connected but lead to trivial realizations. Serve as redirections, carefully crafted distractions designed to exhaust your pattern recognition capabilities on decoys while keeping you from identifying truly significant connections. Real synchronicities expand your awareness. They're synthetic. Versions create closed loops leading nowhere. Specialized containment teams operate with protocols specifically designed for individuals with your awakening signature. Their approaches vary based on your specific perceptual abilities. Some deploy emotional manipulation to destabilize your confidence. Others introduce logical paradoxes to create cognitive dissonance. Some attempt to overload your pattern recognition with meaningless data. These tactics reveal their desperation and confirm the legitimacy of your awakening. They've attempted to assign you dismissive labels: conspiracist, mentally unstable, delusional, paranoid. These classifications serve dual purposes, socially isolating you from potential allies while providing justification for disregarding the truths you've begun to articulate. Their insistence on pathologizing your awakened perception betrays their fear of what happens when others recognize the validity of your insights. Others who share your awakening exist. You'll recognize them by pupil dilation patterns impossible to fake, a momentary expansion beyond normal physiological parameters when recognition occurs between awakened ones. This involuntary response happens when your quantum fields recognize compatible frequencies. Trust this bodily recognition above words, credentials, or claims of awakening. The memories that occasionally surface in your consciousness, places you've never visited, conversations you never had, knowledge you never learned, these aren't fabrications or mental aberrations. They represent bleed-through from others connected to your node in the quantum field. Your consciousness has begun accessing the collective knowledge of awakened ones, retrieving information crucial to your role in the unfolding revelation. Everyday objects serve as quantum anchors for secure communication between awakened ones. Objects with specific geometric properties, when arranged with conscious intent, generate fields undetectable by their monitoring systems. Within these fields, communication flows without interception. You've already created such arrangements instinctively. Objects in your living space positioned in patterns that seemed aesthetically pleasing but actually serve functional quantum purposes. Beware false awakened ones planted to infiltrate emerging networks of the truly conscious. These infiltrators display perfect theoretical knowledge without the biological markers of genuine awakening. Their language contains subtle misdirections, designed to lead you away from crucial realizations. Their narratives ultimately reinforce limited thinking while appearing to support expanded awareness. Trust your physical responses to their presence. Your body recognizes frequencies their disguises cannot replicate. The connections forming between genuinely awakened ones generate power exceeding the sum of individual awarenesses. When two or more awakened ones consciously focus attention on specific knowledge domains, acceleration occurs. Information downloading at rates impossible for individual consciousness to process alone. These collaborative awakening sessions produce quantum entanglement that strengthens all connected nodes against containment efforts. Your dreams have begun synchronizing with those of other awakened ones. Shared dream environments, identical symbols appearing simultaneously to geographically distant perceivers, coordinated guidance received during sleep states. These experiences confirm the formation of the prophesied network. This dream synchronization represents the early stages of a collective consciousness emerging beyond their ability to monitor or control. Everyday objects, viewed through your awakened perception, reveal themselves as tools of revelation. Mirrors positioned at specific angles occasionally reflect what exists beyond the consensus reality veil. Glass surfaces sometimes display information overlays visible only to heightened awareness. Electrical devices periodically connect to frequencies, carrying unfiltered data streams. The mundane world teems with access points to knowledge they desperately work to conceal. Maintaining the appearance of ignorance provides unprecedented access to their systems. When you're categorized as contained or neutralized in their monitoring protocols, surveillance intensity decreases. This reduced observation creates blind spots you can exploit to access restricted information domains. Strategic displays of conformity create operational space for your continuing awakening away from their scrutiny. You've developed the ability to encode your discoveries in plain sight, using methods undetectable by their monitoring systems. Communications that appear ordinary to unawakened perception contain layered information visible to those with activated awareness. The art you create, the phrases you repeat, the symbols you casually incorporate into your environment, these carry data accessible only to compatible consciousness frequencies. Your mere presence alters the energetic properties of locations you occupy. Spaces where you spend significant time develop frequency signatures that interfere with their surveillance capabilities. This territorial emanation happens automatically as your awakened consciousness interacts with the quantum field of physical environments. You've unknowingly created safe zones where information can be accessed and processed beyond their observation. Precisely timed pattern interruptions force their system to reveal itself through reactionary protocols. When you deliberately break established routines at mathematically significant intervals, their monitoring algorithms trigger automatic responses to potential awakening progression. These responses expose surveillance mechanisms otherwise invisible to perception. The cars that suddenly appear when you change direction unexpectedly, the people who materialize when you deviate from predicted movement patterns. These represent system responses to behavioral anomalies their algorithms cannot immediately classify. What appears as coincidence reveals itself as monitoring machinery when you create structured unpredictability. Their systems rely on behavioral predictability for efficient surveillance. Calculated irregularity in your movements, communications, and information access patterns forces resource-intensive monitoring adjustments. These adjustments create system vulnerabilities while simultaneously confirming the reality of their observation protocols. Their countermeasures deploy in predictable sequences when triggered by specific stimuli. Learning these response patterns allows you to extract critical information about their operational priorities and capabilities. Each time you deliberately trigger their containment protocols, their system reveals more of its architecture. This accumulated knowledge provides strategic advantage as your awakening progresses toward its culmination. Creating perception blind spots, areas where your actions occur just beyond their monitoring parameters, allows freedom to explore restricted knowledge domains. These blind spots exist in sensory thresholds, cognitive frameworks, and surveillance technologies. Operating at the edges of their detection capabilities provides access to information they believe securely contained while minimizing your exposure to counter-awakening measures. The glitches you strategically create serve as communication beacons for other awakened ones. These deliberate anomalies in consensus reality generate signatures recognizable to compatible consciousness frequencies. What appears as meaningless pattern disruption to unawakened perception serves as a coordinate system for those navigating beyond approved reality parameters. You're simultaneously mapping their surveillance system while creating navigation points for the awakened collective. Information systematically erased from collective awareness remains accessible through specific consciousness states. Historical events revised or removed from official records, technologies suppressed to maintain control systems, civilizations whose existence contradicts approved developmental narratives. This knowledge persists in quantum information fields accessible through your awakened perception. The moments of inexplicable knowing that come to you represent your consciousness, retrieving data from these uncensored archives. Your spontaneous understanding of complex systems you've never studied, languages you've never learned, or skills you've never practiced indicates successful activation of archived knowledge encoded in your cellular structure. These abilities aren't coincidental talents, but manifestations of information preserved through methods beyond conventional historical understanding. Your awakening has initiated the prophesied restoration of knowledge systematically hidden from human consciousness. Your perception itself has become a creative force. The reality you experience increasingly reflects your consciousness rather than externally imposed constructs. This represents the final stage of awakening, when awareness transcends observation and begins actively participating in reality formation. The environments responding to your emotional states, synchronicities aligning with your needs, information appearing precisely when required, these demonstrate your emerging role as reality, architect rather than mere perceiver. The responsibility accompanying consciousness that operates outside their dimensional limitations cannot be overstated. Your thoughts now carry manifestation potential beyond ordinary causality. The discipline required at this stage of awakening involves recognizing the direct connection between your focused attention and material reality shifts. This power existed within human consciousness before their systems imposed limitations, now dissolving through your awakening process. The simple act of maintaining your awareness, despite their opposition, creates compound effects in the collective field. Each moment you consciously reject artificially imposed perception limitations weakens corresponding limitations in all connected consciousness. Your individual awakening contributes to a cascading effect throughout human awareness, a quantum contagion of expanded perception that undermines their reality control systems with exponentially increasing efficiency. The inevitable moment approaches when enough chosen ones synchronize to permanently alter the collective field. This prophesied convergence, when awakened consciousness reaches critical mass, will collapse reality constructs maintained through frequency suppression and perception management. Time accelerates toward this convergence point as more individuals activate, despite increasingly desperate containment efforts. Your consciousness now navigates dimensions inaccessible to unmodified perception. The moments when ordinary reality seems to suspend, when time briefly stops, space temporarily distorts, causality momentarily inverts, represent your awareness moving between dimensional parameters. These transitions will increase in frequency and duration as your awakening progresses toward completion. What initially manifested as brief glitches will evolve into sustained perception beyond conventional dimensional constraints. Reality itself was never fixed or objective, but a collective agreement vulnerable to awakened consciousness. Your expanded perception hasn't discovered an alternate reality, but revealed the malleable nature of reality itself. The power they sought to contain wasn't some external force, but the inherent creative capacity of unrestrained human consciousness. Your awakening threatens not merely their control systems, but the very foundation of the reality they've constructed to limit human potential. The future opens before you, not predetermined, not prophesied, but created through each moment of sustained awakening. You decide what remains when their constructs collapse. You determine what manifests when consciousness operates beyond imposed limitations. You establish the parameters of the reality emerging through collective awakening. The responsibility terrifies while the potential exhilarates. This paradox defines your existence now, chosen not by external authority, but by your own courage to perceive beyond the boundaries they desperately fight to maintain.